disclosure, if you do attempt to do something like this, do it at your own risk, follow safety precautions, and you'll see, I'll try to get everything in the shot here, which is going to be difficult. There's my battery, my fire extinguisher. I have a drum of fuel right here, 15 gallons of fuel. I believe that's about 60 liters in metric. So I'm going to explain how I did this here. Living off grid, having fuel storage is critical, right? Unless you're living a completely fuel-free existence with no petrol, no gasoline, no diesel, you're going to need to have gasoline storage in your gas cans, drums. This is right here. I think you can see the top of it in the frame. It's a 15-gallon, 60-liter plastic drum, and it's got the bungs on top. And I like these better than the 55-gallon drum, although I use those too out of steel. But these I can lug around. I can move around on my property without causing damage to myself or others. Now that I'm 50, I want to make sure that I'm being very careful in moving heavy things, right? Okay. That being said, this fuel was stored 2 years ago. I used a product by the name of PRIG to store gasoline, and it's a fuel preservative. I have since switched to seafoam, and I'll probably put a picture of some of the additives and things that I use. But I like seafoam because it is a preservative. It also kind of cleans the engines a little bit, cleans the fuel system. And I've found that there's a lot of moisture or water in the fuel sometimes, just straight from the fuel station. And with the changing of the seasons and the temperatures, you'll get the condensation, or that water will separate out into the fuel, and you'll get that into your engines, and your carburetors will ice up. I run a Honda 2000 EU 2000 generator, which is humming along right now. I've used that for, I want to say 12 years now, that same generator. I've gone through a few parts on it, another carburetor, but I have found in the wintertime, if I don't use seafoam in the fuel to start, as I go to store the fuel, that it seems to be more problematic. I've used the heat, the alcohol treatment. I've used Stable. I've used PRIG. And while Stable and PRIG will preserve the fuel, they don't really do much for water or condensation in the fuel. So this seafoam seems to do the trick. So that being said, this is my fuel pump. This was an extra fuel, well, not an extra. I had some vehicle issues, some problems with my Suburban back here. And I had put a fuel pump in it, a new one, 3 years ago, and they should last longer than that. Well, the symptoms it was giving me sounded like a fuel pump. So I replaced the fuel pump again. This is the fuel pump I put in there 2-3 years ago. It happened to not be the fuel pump. It happened to be something else, the injectors. But this fuel pump was still good. And I had it sitting on my bench for, I don't know, 6-8 months. And I was fumbling around trying to siphon gas from one of these drums into my truck. I try to cycle the gas out every year or two and put fresh in with new stabilizer. And it was just that time, like it is right now. It's time to cycle this drum through. And I was spilling a lot of gas and just dealing with a bunch of headaches with it, trying to get the drum higher than the fuel inlet of the truck to have a better siphon. And I was like, I need an electric transfer pump. And I looked online for those, and they're for gasoline, for an electric transfer pump, pretty low volume and pretty expensive, $100 or more. So I got some vinyl tubing. I took and cut away the old pump from the housing. And there's a lot of different pumps on the market for fuel pumps for vehicles. And there's some ones that are just this unit, not a housing with the tubes and all that stuff and the returns. If you can just get something like this, even from O'Reilly Auto or Napa or whatever, or even online, I've seen them as low as like $20-$30. Be careful, be safe. Your connections should be done. Basically, it's just a red to red, black to black, right? This is a 12-volt DC pump. It's going to go to a battery, car battery I have sitting over here. And just be very careful. The connections should be done with heat shrink tubing. And obviously, you don't want to have gasoline on this thing when you're building it. You want to do it far away from everything. Make sure your connections are tight. Make sure they're heat shrink tubed, or the crimps the butt end connectors with the melting. You melt the ends to seal them, like a waterproof connector. You can even use a Bic lighter. I think that's what I did on these. And I used those waterproof connectors, and then I put heat shrink tubing over that. I've used this a few times already and have had no problems. So that being said, I'm going to go and open up this drum of fuel and transfer this over to the Suburban and show you what I'm doing. I did put an inline filter on here, just a simple, very simple filter. I haven't even put hose clamps on it, so it may drip a little bit. My bad. This little filter, just in case there's any debris in the drum or the fuel. I did not put a water separator on there yet. At some point, maybe I'll do that. Again, the seafoam seems to work wonders. So this drum of fuel is almost 2 years old. I'm looking through my fuel storage here. It is November in Alaska, 2024, and it's time to do this and get this fuel refreshened in here. So that being said, I'm going to try to do this one-handed. Actually, I'm going to put this over here so it doesn't get snow in it. You'll see that I have a rubber mallet here. And I use the rubber mallet to tap around, kind of break any ice or snow that's around the bung. Want to blow it out as good as possible. This is a bung wrench. They're made in aluminum or brass, and that is to not cause sparks. If you're using it on a steel drum, it won't do sparks. So that's why they're out of aluminum or brass. Obviously, to store fuel, you want to make sure that these bungs are tight and they seal really well, so they don't allow moisture into it or the gas to expand and evaporate out, especially when summer comes along and you'll get some expansion. So I'm going to move my face away. This should suck fuel into it, or air into it, I should say, and not pop it out. But I don't want to have it pop in my face at all, just in case. There we go. Smell it. If it smells sweet, they say if it smells sweet like candy, it's not good. So this doesn't seem to smell too much like anything, really. Hopefully it's okay. And of course, fuel is lighter than water, so the water is going to sink down to the bottom. And if there's a discoloration in the line, being a clear line, it's nice you can see any discoloration. If it turns milky or white, that's most likely some water or condensation at the bottom of the drum. Okay, it's winter time. Want to make sure this is staying out of the snow. We're going to put this in there, and of course displacement, it's going to displace some of the fuel. We're going to have a little runoff. There we go. All right, we're going to move this over to the truck. Okay, let's see, can you see me here? It's in the truck. There we go. And then over here, I have my battery I'm going to connect it to, and a fire extinguisher should things go completely awry. Again, if you're going to do this, do it at your own risk. I'm not telling you how to do this or that you should do this. I'm not going to be held responsible or liable if you blow yourself up or your truck. All right, I'm going to put it there. Notice I have the fuel drum away from the truck a bit. I have my battery away from the fuel drum in the truck in case there are sparks when you connect the alligator clips. So again, I just bought some alligator clips. I've got a black and a red just to make it easy. So I'm going to go put it on the battery here, and you'll be able to see the fuel come up into the line. Okay, we've got the fuel pump going, and it's dripping a little bit more than I'd like. I'm actually going to stop it, and I'm going to put some hose clamps on it. But you can see that we've got the clear line, we've got the fuel filter, and the pump is running. Okay, The fuel is clear. You can actually see it dripping off of there. So I'm going to stop this before I dump any more fuel on the ground. All right. All right, back from brief intermission. You'll see I got the hose clamps here and here. So now we'll try it, and it should not leak. All right, there we go. It's transferring fuel. It's hard to see, I'm sure, but there's fuel running through the line up into the truck. No more leaks. Okay, so that's good. The fuel is still clear coming out of here. I can hear it humming and making noise, so that's good. The fuel pump's running nice, and seems to be working just fine. So I'm going to have to sit here and monitor this. You know, there's no automatic shutoff, so you got to make sure that if you're filling your tank, you're keeping an eye on it, because it will just keep running. And if your fuel tank in your vehicle is full, it'll just keep pumping it all over the ground. So you got to pay attention to it. But this is a quick, down and dirty, easy, for me, I think it's easy, way to transfer fuel, right? So you're not dealing with schlepping all over the ground. You're not dealing with, you know, siphon hoses and all that other stuff. So, and you're not spending $100 and some for an electric fuel pump. This thing, it'll empty this 15-gallon drum about 10 minutes, I think. I think that's how long it took last time. And it's cold. Obviously, you can see it's cold here. I think it's down in the low teens. It was 4 degrees this morning Fahrenheit when I woke up, so it's warming up a little bit. But she's working just fine. The thing I would do different when I make a modification to this, I'm going to make the electrical leads to the battery longer, so I can actually take this with me and utilize the battery of the truck to transfer fuel out somewhere. So if I'm out and about on a trail, or if I'm going long distance, I'll take this pump with me, and I'll be able to utilize the battery in the front of the vehicle, the starting battery, run the leads all the way up there to transfer fuel. So I'll just make the leads longer. But yeah, there you go. Do it yourself electric gasoline transfer pump. All right. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you got something out of this. Be careful. I'm not telling you to do this. Again, disclaimer and all that jazz. Legal, whatever. Too much of a litigious society, in my opinion. So do it at your own risk. All right, guys. Take care.